Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday live chat with Ashala. I am just clearing my cards. I got a new deck yesterday, and when I get a new deck, it's a great idea when you get one to do a lot of clearing beforehand just to really shuffle and organize the cards. So, yeah, hi, everybody. Want to check in and make sure my sound is good. Do any troubleshooting ahead of time. It's pretty fun here with the new cards. They're so slippery. They slide all over the table. And it's kind of appropriate in a way with this topic about quantum entanglement. It is related to that sense of being kind of on slippery surfaces, out of control, skating around on ice. Good morning. Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, Ricky. Hi, Sue. Lovely to see you all here. And let's dive into this topic. I was meditating on what to focus on today, and then that just hearing from people over the last few days about how they experience, you can almost visualize quantum entanglement as being somehow, caught in a web. And then the difference, the alternative to that is rhythmic frequency. And one is the quantum entanglement experience is based on an unconscious trauma pattern. So I know many of you have probably experienced this, where you are going along your merry way and all of a sudden someone says something or does something and you're totally thrown off. And you're like, okay, how is this possible? I was feeling totally fine. And then now I'm entangled in something. I'm entangled in this other person's energy. They're going through a crisis or they're projecting something, and now I'm in that. And we can see that on the larger stage as well, where we can have, intentions or forward moving energies around creating new paradigms and so on. And then all of a sudden, there's an entanglement in an old pattern. And even people with the very best intentions find themselves somehow stuck again and at the mercy of that entanglement. So I want to start off with acknowledging that that type of entangled energy is a direct result of all of our collective trauma. There's none of you watching this, probably no being on this planet at this time, that is free or immune to collective trauma. We've all had it in our own personal lives. We've had it in our ancestral history, regardless of where we're from on the planet, to varying degrees. For those of us of European descent, a lot of the trauma that was put upon our ancestors is long ago. Like the original traumas for them go way, way back. And then, of course, they became the traumatized people that went ahead and continued along that entangled frequency. And so I want to suggest that the first thing we acknowledge around that entanglement is that it is based in trauma, and that as soon as we are in that state of trauma, we are automatically, literally on automatic pilot. We are no longer present in this here and now. We are immediately catapulted into some past experience, either our own personal trauma, collective trauma, or ancestral historical trauma, and or a combination of all of those. And it's because we go into automatic autopilot and we switch off, we're no longer really present in the frequency of our choice in this moment, that we are very susceptible to getting pulled into a dominant frequency. And as we know, the frequency of fear and trauma is very, very powerful, only trumped by the frequency of love. The frequency of love, however, can only be accessed when we are not in an unconscious state. We can choose love. Now, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to qualify that for a moment. There are beautiful supports. There's protection. We have guides and angels and beings that support us even when we are unconscious. Sometimes they care for us, they watch over us. So it's not an absolute on either side. However, the more time we spend in that unconscious state, the more we are leaving ourselves open to that entanglement. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Become an observer. Thank you, Ricky. Without being drawn into negative thoughts and emotions, fear can't exist in a state of love. Right. So how often is it that I know I experience where I am intending to stay in that frequency of love, and then all of a sudden I find myself out of it into fear. And we often say, oh, that person, or, I read that article, or I heard someone's, message on a channel that I was listening to, and then I felt upset, and it's their fault. Like, they did that to me. I always think of that analogy. They say when we point at someone with one finger, we have three fingers pointing back towards us. So how do we say, they woke up something that is latent in me? They reminded me that even though I've done all this work, there's still pockets of unconscious trauma that reside within. And that is the basis of quantum entanglement. Now, let's have a look at what Spirit wants to share with us, because we're all in this together. How do we work with this? How do we work with it when we are, so many of us, feeling exhausted and overwhelmed? Okay, so that is the perfect recipe for going unconscious. How do we shift that moment to moment to return to the frequency of love, the rhythmic frequency, which we're going to get into after this question? So let's tilt the screen here. Good morning. Hi, Trixie. Melissa. Aw, Lynn, it's lovely to see you again. All right. So we have on the bottom here, this is the heartbreak card. People get very concerned about this card. It doesn't look very comfortable, does it? And yet it is really what the card, I refer to it as open heart surgery, meaning once it shows up, we are already healing it. They're saying, repeat that. Once it shows up, we are already in a state of healing. So the fact that it's here this morning means good work, everybody. You are already, the guides are saying, 3/4 of the way. So acknowledging you're doing such great work. So many of you, the overall collective. And we're going to talk here shortly. Well, actually, they're saying, say it right now. I've heard so many people commenting. This is the 10 of Pentacles. It is, it is what happens when we collectively go into a beautiful state of sovereign co-creation and interdependency, not codependency, but interdependency. There's a difference in that. So here we are, open heart surgery, and this is so close, that frequency of the 10, which reminds me of the 100th monkey. So many people are commenting that they're concerned that if the masses don't wake up soon, we're doomed, and that it has to happen very soon. There has to be massive disclosure so that we can have this huge awakening, or people are getting very discouraged. That cancels out our chances, and of course leaves a lot more room for quantum entanglement, doesn't it? However, there is this incredible principle of positive co-creative evolution, which is the 100th monkey principle, which is based on this research study. Can't remember exactly when and where it was done, but the idea is that it only takes a small percent. And I believe that percent is somewhere around 10%. It actually 9%. It's going down. They're saying, remember, it was as small as even 1%, meaning it doesn't take a huge number to initiate this incredible shift in a population. So the study was done with monkeys. They were able to learn a new skill, and only a few of them understood this. But over time, this new ability spread not just amongst the community of monkeys in this particular isolated island area, but it spread to all that species of monkeys all over the planet, even though they weren't technically connected. They weren't learning face to face from each other. They didn't have the internet to tune into each other's YouTube channels. They were literally sensing it. Okay, they were sensing that. So it only took a small number to start the up-leveling frequency. Fascinating. So let's see what Spirit wants to tell us about how this small number has the potential to change this experience of quantum entanglement. How do we approach this? Being exhausted, burned out, overwhelmed emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and so on. How do we, that small percentage, sustain this frequency so that we are not being constantly thrown into a state of entanglement? Wow. Gosh. I'm going to do the next card. Woohoo! Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. Let me share with you here in a moment. Oh, sweet. I just love how when we tune in together, there's 3 twos. We talked last week about the power of 2. The power of 2 people working together on something, the community of 2. Remember, we were discussing that. So there's 3 twos, which is a blessing. 3 twos are a blessing. There's a blessing working just with one other person, starting small. So that little tiny percentage of us, all we need is, whenever 2 or more of you are gathered in that frequency, there's love. Wow. Okay. And 2 plus 2 plus 2, those 3 twos equals 6, which is our frequency card down below, which is the card of kindness. It's the inner child. Wow. Random acts of kindness. Emotional generosity, gratitude. Holy. All right. Pulling some cards on the side, and then, ooh, wow. I'm excited about this. Ooh, yeah. We're being shown all sides of the picture here. So I'll tilt the screen up, and really happy to receive this guidance on behalf of all of us and all your guides, allies, helpers aligned with this power neutral frequency of the heart and the greater good of all are here with us. I can feel it because there's the most profound clarity that comes through when I do these lives with those of you that are present and with people that are tuning in the future. It just feels like we get these messages for all of us. So the beginning answer to how do we stay in this beautiful frequency and avoid getting drawn into that unconscious trauma-based quantum entanglement. We stay in our bodies. I feel like I want to whisper it. They're saying, it's a big secret. Stay in your body. Stay in your body. This is the embodiment card. Okay. So I just am being reminded of shamanic practitioners around the world when they do healing on people. And, we know that these healing sessions, that these incredibly self-actualized beings have been able to accomplish, including the Christ consciousness and doing these, beautiful miracle healings through healing touch. So much of that energy is about bringing us back, bringing our soul back into our body. What happened with the trauma, whatever trauma in your own life, the lives and the history of your ancestors and our collective ancestors on this planet, we got scared to the point where we left our bodies. Our souls disconnected from our bodies, went into the abstract, the separate self-identity, to the point where we had a hard time feeling safe and connected to nature. This is what was taken from us, our integration in our bodies. They're even showing me, like, we understand what happens when children are traumatized. And so much of it is about them, disassociating from their bodies. So the first step is remember to stay in your body. That can be anything from noticing, how are you feeling? Okay. As your mind is swirling around going, I'm entangled, I'm mad, that person made me upset, this thing happened, and now I'm like in this state and I was fine before, and why does this happen? Go into your body. Go into your body and say, what's going on? What am I feeling right now? Okay, my heart's pounding. I'm feeling upset stomach. I'm anxious. I'm feeling angry. We get into our bodies. We get into our feelings. And we start by attending to our bodies first. Our bodies are like the grounding cord. They're like the anchor into our human experience on this planet. So if we only identify in our bodies and we don't work on all the chakra systems and aligning them, then we become too imbalanced in that power dominant earth materialism and so on. But when we're scared, we tend to do this thing where we literally just shoot right out of our bodies. So the first message is come into your body, and you may experience, this is the answer, this back and forth. So it's not just about, okay, come into the body and forget about what's going on in your mind, forget about your spirit, forget about your allies, your protectors. This is not about, okay, only go into your body. It's about, they're showing me literally a pulsing frequency where we go body, spirit, body, spirit, body, spirit, like a heartbeat. So you go into your body first, you get it soothed and calmed down so that it can be a vessel for your spirit. And then you reignite through your heart. You reignite spirit. What's your intention here? Look at this. It's all a mental process. So it's going to be our minds that get us back into our bodies. It's going to be our minds, once our bodies are calmed down, that invite spirit back in and intend what we're going to do from that state. I believe in psychology, this is called the polyvagal state. It is once we are calm in the physical being, we can then reconnect through our hearts, through love, through that frequency and that intention with our minds to whatever our spiritual focus, our spiritual intention is. And that's the place where we literally become conscious again. We're back in the driver's seat. Okay, now, how often do we need to do this? How often do we need to return to this state? Every 2 minutes, every 2 hours, every 2 days, 2 months, 2 years? What I'm being shown, just like enlightenment is not a permanent state, the greatest advanced beings acknowledge that enlightenment is literally like a frequency, a flashing frequency of vibration, a pulse, where we have every moment the opportunity to stay in it intentionally or to go out of it. So that can feel like, wow, that's exhausting. We have to stay vigilant every moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month. Well, here's where it gets interesting, because there is this beautiful principle. We're back to that 100th monkey, where guess what? You, Sue, and you, Ricky, and you, Angela, Melissa, I'm having a hard time pronouncing your name, but best wishes from Poland. Oh, beautiful. Melissa, as each of us are doing this dance, okay? This dance, this duality dance. Oh my gosh, I'm out again. Oh my gosh, back into my body. Okay, intend, come back into my heart. Okay, I'm in again. Whoop, I'm out again. As you keep doing this, yeah, it can feel like this endless, never-ending challenge of, where does this stop? I'm exhausted. How do I stay in this frequency? How well, you're not the only one doing it. And what is certain to happen is that as you practice this, as you practice returning to this frequency regularly, in the beginning, it's big enough to just notice that you're out of it. Sometimes, I still do this. Yeah, go on for a whole half a day, maybe even 2, possibly 3, heaven forbid, where I'm like, I'm just in a funk. I'm picking up all this energy. I'm out of that state of love. And I often have to go really searching for what is soothing to me. There's the things that are negatively soothing. Okay, the addictive processes that we get hooked on, which are actually another form of disassociation and disconnection. It's like we're grabbing for the first thing that's closest at hand to solve this for us. If we can go a little further into, sometimes it's literally you're searching for the thing that's going to change your state. What is that? Every one of us has our own, they're showing me, every one of us has they're saying almost like the cheating toolkit, which is the coping, more addictive, just covering up this frequency, this entanglement, which of course, as we know, it just makes it stronger and stronger and stronger. And then we all have our healthy toolkits, where you may have to stretch a little more. You might have to stay in that uncomfortable state for a little bit longer to reach for the healthy thing. to locate it. And what the guides are saying is, literally get your arsenal prepared. Like, have as many things. Even they're saying, especially when you're going into what we call the perfect storm, where there's multiple triggers. You're going to visit family, you're going on a trip and being outside of your comfort zone, you're going to a stressful situation at your workplace, you're going into a really full-on week with too much on your agenda and a lot of scheduling. So you go in and you literally line up everything that is the things that you can grab for in that moment. I literally have found myself sometimes where I'm sitting there going, I'm looking at all the good things and I'm like, okay, I'll try this. Oh, that's not working. Okay, I'll try that. Oh, that's not working. Like, I mean, yeah, it's overwhelming when we're in that state. And yet, the more often that I find the thing that brings me back, and that I resist going into the unhealthy coping patterns, the coping mechanisms, that I reach for those greater tools, it does create often a stronger frequency that holds me a little longer. Okay. So we all are going to go through perfect storms where, and one of the first things as well that we go into there is we go, oh my gosh, what's happening? I'm out of control. Like I said, the slippery ice, I'm on thin ice. I'm on slippery ice. It's like everything's going sideways. This is a perfect storm. What am I going to do? And instead of going into, I created this, I'm in shame, or someone did this to me, I'm in victim consciousness, we go into, this is my opportunity. Here's my grand opportunity to, maybe I'm going to have to reach for 3 or 4 of those things that are the things that I know bring me comfort. Whatever it is for you, can be any number of things. It could be doing some kind of art, listening to a certain kind of music, putting your feet on the ground, holding crystals, speaking to certain people that speaking to your guides, speaking to, your connecting with your faith, putting yourself in a kind of time out where you won't, let yourself down until you're in a calm state. And it is work, and yet we are so making progress here. And the more of us that are doing this more frequently, I'm feeling almost teary, because as you're sitting there going through this yourself, you don't know. Melissa, Sue, Desert Rose, Valerie, Shauna, these people are probably sitting in their kitchen, in their bedroom, going through the same thing. Feel each other. Feel each other. This is part of the activation that's going on right now. Tune in. Maybe pull a card. Say, is there someone nearby that's going through this too? Can we connect even though we don't know who we are? Can we feel into each other's field and say, I'm sending you prayers. Sister, brother, I'm with you. I'm scared right now, but we're together. We're not alone. And the guides are saying, be prepared to be amazed. Be prepared to be amazed what you're going to feel when you let that happen. Because it's really shifting. It's really shifting. And the other thing is, well, there is also something about a part of this phase that we have to do by ourselves. So we can feel the connection, but you can say, why am I alone? What, yeah, I can feel these people. I can see them on the chat, but why aren't they here? Like, why haven't I created more of these presences right in my reality? Why do I have to do all this work by myself? This is where we're at in the process of creating sovereign self. This is where we're at. We are becoming the one that we can depend on. And then we can go into the world and offer that to others and be supported by them. And I always bring this analogy with, these two cards, my gosh, Queen of Pentacles and Nine of Pentacles. It's like we're magnetizing our own sovereignty so that we then draw other sovereigns to us. Like, amazing, amazing. And you can't fake this. You can have degrees all over your wall, all kinds of life experience. If you're not here, you're not here. And if you are here, you don't need anything to prove it. People will feel it. You'll feel it. So what is being shown to me is this analogy I love to talk about around that sense of sovereign, autonomous alignment. Okay. I used to, years ago, I learned all different forms of dance. And at one point I was practicing something called contact dance. Now, this is a dance form. It's kind of similar to modern dance, but it's kind of like acro yoga. So you lean into people. You can actually do almost like kind of flips and rolls over other people. And it requires a lot of faith because you've got to sort of put your weight onto other people. However, the rule with contact dance is that you can only lean into the other person as far as if they fell, if they couldn't support you, you could recover yourself. So you've got to always be in that place of knowing, where are you? Where are you? Are you in your body right now? Where are you in terms of you can play and trust and co-create and become interwoven and interdependent with others. But if you don't have this ability to always realign, and if that support falls away, you don't collapse. So big work. And any way that you can practice that, see your relationships, see your interdependent relationships as an opportunity. They are one of those things on your shelf, one of those things that you reach for to have comfort, to bring yourself back into alignment, but not the only thing. Okay. And if you do end up reaching for a coping strategy, that's okay. Acknowledge it. Again, you're still in that unconscious state when you're doing that. So acknowledge to yourself, I'm doing this and I'm unconscious and I'm still doing it. So now I'm conscious of being unconscious. And at that point, again, it's this internal dialogue where we sort of talk ourselves down from that place. Okay. Ah, love it. Oh, thank you, Angela. When I'm worried or stressed, I talk to my angels more, even to the point of babbling. But luckily, they're familiar with my process, and that's it, right? This is it. We do develop relationships with things. Obviously, I have a relationship with my tarot cards. I don't always use them. I certainly don't always rely on them for certain types of emotional questions when I'm in an emotional state. I don't look at emotionally charged questions, but I can look at things like, I can do cards on, would this help me right now? What should I do? Should I take myself out for dinner? Should I go for a walk? Like I'm pulling cards on, like, because I'm in that state, right? I can't even choose which thing off the shelf to draw on. Again, you're going to each of you design different ways that you can support yourself going through these processes to return to that beautiful frequency. that pulsing frequency. Okay, so when I was tuning in today and contemplating, or yesterday and contemplating about topics, I heard this quantum entanglement, and then I heard pulsing or rhythmic frequency. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Rhythmic frequency. What that reminds me of is the pulse of creation. It's the Fibonacci sequence. It's the spiral. So it's the toroidal energy, that pulsing energy of creation. So nothing is ever solid or permanent, but we return through things regularly. So they were almost showing me this, like when we think about movies, the individual frames of a movie flashing on a screen, they're flashing so fast that it appears like a constant, but there's actually little miniature breaks in between each of those. And those breaks in the frequency are where we have the potential to go into fear. And then if we get locked in fear, we're literally locked in that space between the pulses of creation. And that's where we feel really abandoned, lost, no longer connected. We're connected to source, to the great mystery, to the emptiness. And we also have that experience of being isolated and alone in that place. So for each of us, that is something to work with, to understand, to become comfortable with. And what happens with trauma is that we get locked into that empty space, and then we're just looking for things to fill it. It's almost like the film got paused, and we want to do something in the frequency realm to start it up again. So let's have a look and see how the cards indicate that we can begin to work with this or continue working with this process of frequency and that rhythmic pulse of creation. I'm going to lower the screen again. Yeah. Gosh, there's that abandonment card, the being alone, being left out, being rejected from spirit, from the creator. This is our greatest fear, is to be abandoned, to have nothing. But of course, we understand that that's just the pause phrase or phase between the rhythmic pulse of creation. So it's like the in-breath and the out-breath. This is like getting stuck on the out-breath, which is, in a way, a kind of mini death. It's a mini releasing ourselves from the force of creation. And yet this Queen of Pentacles is that we are creating our own design, our own frequency that brings us back into the rhythm of creation again and again and again. And again, she's in the body. Here's us. Healing, balancing, heart-centered, perfect timing. Wow, temperance. What a beautiful, loving frequency. And you'll notice in this card that two things are being blended. So we could say that it's like an alchemy that comes from having that pulse, that there has to be a time of pause and release, for there to be a time of initiate and recreate. Wow. Okay, so the rhythmic frequency is based on this energy of gratitude and gifting. This is the gifting card. So we get stuck in fear, lack, and abandonment. And out of that rhythmic pulse of creation, when we feel we have nothing to give, is what the guides are saying. We immediately reinitiate and recreate ourselves when we go to do something that we can offer to spirit as a gift. It's interesting. The word recreate, the old-fashioned word was recreation. And if you think about what people did to experience recreation, it was usually some sort of games, some sort of activities, sharing of food, gathering with loved ones, exploring, doing a hobby, something that was part of what you love to do, and you offer that to the world. And every one of those things, in the shamanic practices, all of those frequencies of enjoyment, fun, laughter, how you feel at the end of a day when you've had an awesome day out with your family and everybody's had fun and you've made memories. Well, those memories are like food for all of creation. They go into the beautiful energy memory bank of creation and they nourish it, is what the guides are saying. So this frequency of gifting is the place to begin. And you can say, well, I don't have anything to, maybe I don't have a talent, or maybe I don't have an interest, or maybe I don't have someone to celebrate with. And, it's interesting, when I was feeling the energy of pulsing rhythmic frequency, that loving frequency, that very intentional, purposeful frequency that happens when we're conscious, when we're in our bodies. The first thing that came to my mind was music and dance. I mean, it's something people have sang and danced all over the world for eons as a form of recreation. And they literally, indigenous people around the world literally believe that their dances recreated the world. That's why they did them. So at the very least, some aspect of tuning in to a frequency that brings you joy, listening to music, getting up and moving your body, getting in your body, celebrating through your body, that's a beautiful gift to spirit. And it does affect everyone around you. It is like when you cast a stone into a pond and it ripples out. That joy ripples out through humanity. So we are absolute masters of creating this gifting frequency. Kind of interesting to think of it as a gift, isn't it? Like your enjoyment is a gift for the spirits. It's a gift for the spirits of your ancestors. I always like to say, when we go and honor our ancestors in the graveyard, there's cultures around the world that understood that they want to hear our music and our laughter. They want to hear our stories. They don't want to see us, on a rainy day, sad-faced, holding an umbrella in a somber tone. They want to see us happy, because that nourishes them from whatever dimension they're tuning in from, because it's that frequency of love and joy. Whoa. Wow. Okay. They're up in the ante here a little bit. It's basically, they're saying, in order to stay in frequency, you have to get out of comfort. You have to let go of just feeling safe. There's something a little bit unsafe about jumping into frequency, and whatever is holding us out of celebration, enjoyment, deeply meaningful experiences of life is usually something artificial that we've created to keep us safe. No pressure, folks. Oh, wow. And it continues. You know, sometimes we just got to walk away from all the things that drive us crazy and just say, okay, I can't solve it. I can't solve this. I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to fix it today. Let's start with that. I'm not going to fix it this hour. I'm going to go and do something that I love. And the mind is going, oh, that's so irresponsible. The world is never going to make it if you don't work harder and create miracles and do all this stuff and heal the planet and fix others and fix yourself and, fix what's broken. And they're saying, we got to walk away. Every culture throughout history has had days of rest and recreation. I mean, we are the most insane. This modern era of nonstop go, go, go is the biggest insanity ever hatched on this planet. And if we don't know how to stop that insane, hamster wheel that we're on, we're never going to be able to step back into this frequency of recreation. The gift of what we create when we recreate. Oh. And here we are. We're saying, okay, this reminds me of my summer journey, which I'll share a little bit about with you all. I was really exhausted at the end of last spring. I had an injury. Some of you may remember that. And I had just pushed myself nonstop for months, even years, to, do all this stuff, fix things, make stuff happen, change the world, fix my family, fix myself, fix my friends, fix the reality around me, fix the planet. And then, of course, I ended up sort of hitting a wall, having an injury, and then I had to reevaluate all that. And I ended up taking 3 whole months that were primarily focused on recreation and healing. And it was really first of all, a radical act of self-love. And secondly, a revolutionary act of demanding an upgrade in the frequency in myself. It was revolutionary. It was, in the beginning, it was really hard not to take on shame and projection from any people around me who were like, well, aren't you lucky? I still worked a couple of days a week during that time, but I didn't do anything else. And I also knew that one of my strongest supports to bring myself back into my body, into a state of health, a beautiful rhythmic frequency of high vibration, was to be in nature and do what I call the elemental cure. So I spent 3 months pretty much almost entirely living outdoors. My feet, my bare feet, my, shoes were moccasins. I was touching the earth hours and hours and hours every day, and swimming in natural water almost every day, and getting beautiful, healthy vitamin D early in the morning and late in the afternoon in the sun. And I did that, and being out in fresh air and in natural environments. And I did that for 3 months. This year, I'm going to do it for 6 weeks. I feel like I don't need to go quite that deep in to get a lot of replenishment at this point. However, I encourage every one of you to find your version of this. Find your version of this and see it as a radical, revolutionary act of enhancing the frequency on this planet, period. There's nothing more important than building this frequency. Again, there's also, this is a time, fear of time card. And the answer over here, the 10 of Pentacles, is the opposite. It's, remember, don't overestimate what you can do in a year, but underestimate what you can do in 10 years. In 10 years' time, this is the prize. This is the goal. The 10 of Pentacles is the legacy. And you can only actually create that legacy from this place of gifting. And to get there, you've got to get into recreation. Create something that celebrates life, and you will more and more and more frequently return to that beautiful, high frequency, rhythmic vibration of creation. Wow. Woo-hoo-hoo. And for those of you that have been waiting for, whatever, the acknowledgement from higher up, you've been waiting to be noticed, to be seen, to be understood. When are the off-worlders going to show themselves? When is the Christ consciousness going to appear and make itself known to us and recognize our efforts? When? And the guides are saying, now. It's happening. It is happening. It could literally be, that 6 degrees of separation. They're saying 6 minutes, between 6 and 7 minutes of staying in that frequency. Be prepared to see miracles. Okay? We are right there. We are so close. It's like they're saying 6 minutes away. Oh my gosh. But this is no easy thing, right? Like 6 minutes of staying in that frequency. I challenge all of you. This is the meditation practice, right? Like it's pretty hard. I know my mind races all over the place and my energy follows it. And so I'm going to throw that gauntlet down for myself this week. 6 minutes of staying in that frequency, between 6 and 7 minutes in that frequency, uninterrupted. Wow. Watch the miracles. Whoa. Wow. Wow. We're closing off on this. Whoosh. Wow. Is all I can say. 5 of Pentacles and the Death Transformation card. So this reminds me of what I said, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where I was noticing that we were out of the cage, but we still perceive the bars. And the tendency is to want to go grab the bars and try to rip them apart and destroy them. And they're saying, no, don't do that. Spend 6 minutes, enjoy if you can. Spend 6 minutes, line up a whole arsenal of things that bring you back in your body and bring that frequency to you, intentionally stepping into conscious co-creation. Pay attention for 6.5 minutes. Focus on something. Bring yourself into celebration and offer that experience as a gift to humanity. Sustain it as regularly as you can for that 6 or 7 minutes. These bars are going to take care of themselves. This feeling of being alone, of being unsafe, of being lost, of all the trauma, it's going to resolve itself. It's going to resolve itself. And it will just fade over time. It's the ego that says, I've got to get rid of it. I got to attack it. I got to fix it. I got to fix this, fix it. And they're saying, come back into your body, come back into that frequency, nourish yourself, Look to the things that bring you that kind of comfort and soothing connection, things that you love to do. This is your design. Whatever you love to do is what spirit is going to love to receive from you. And feel us. We are all working with this. We are all struggling. And yet, we are all succeeding. And may that be so. May it be so. One of my favorite words, now power. Oh, thank you, Mary Grace. So lovely to see you. Yeah. A nice place for recreation, never any snow and ice. Your humor is a great recreation right there. Humor, one of our greatest gifts. Spirit has been showing me this. 3 months. Linda Parker, I commend you. This is a revolutionary act, and if you're there going, oh, I only wish, there's no way I'm going to be able to get 3 months off, then start with 3 hours. Push yourself to your little edge, whatever that is, 3 minutes. Don't go for 6, go for 3. I'm right there with you. Your act of revolutionary, conscious disconnecting from quantum entanglement and coming into that rhythmic frequency, that pulse of creation, wherever you are. Again, this is kind of like a yoga practice. Your act, if it's 3 minutes, is probably great, a greater feast for the spirit of creation, because for you, that is monumental. I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, I made 3 months. Big deal. It's like your fierce commitment to yourself is so potent. If you can take 3 minutes, whatever you go to your edge and command that alignment within yourself, it's radical. It's powerful. This heavy air and the hissing sound I experience almost all the time does something to my strength and psyche. Today, it's quiet. Don't know what this is. We'll leave off with this. This is the quantum entanglement that our bodies and our psyches and our spirits are doing unconsciously. And again, you can say, oh no, I'm not doing it right. I didn't try hard enough. I got to fix this. I got to fix it. I've been working with challenging physical symptoms. I mean, pretty much since I was born. I can't even remember a time that I didn't struggle with all kinds of sensitivities, everything under the sun. And it was the struggle to come into this frequency more frequently, even though I was uncomfortable, afraid, anxious, overwhelmed with sensation. So again, for those of you that are struggling with extreme physical sensation, psychological sensation, every millisecond that you actualize this healing that we're talking about, every moment that you can come into conscious awareness into your body as you're experiencing that quantum entanglement, the anxieties, you're experiencing a symptom that doesn't make sense. Every way that you can say, in this state, what can I draw on to calm myself, to soothe my physical body? Miles to go, miles to go. It's fascinating. Like, now, when I have these extreme symptoms, I mean, I've heard people tell me, and I certainly experience it, I can be totally feeling awesome. And then one day I wake up and it's just like, I'm back 15 years into some of my worst anxiety, nightmares. And in the past, that would send me off and I'd be stuck on that frame, right? In between the frames. I'd be like, oh my gosh, something's happened. And I'm like going down. And now I go into this fierce state of focused, intentional grounding. And I give myself whatever I need for as long as I possibly can. And if it's not working, I look ahead at my schedule and I say, how can I clear this and create more space for myself? What can I do? Where can I get help? Okay, I can't maybe look after the children this afternoon. Who can I get to help me? What can I do? It's like this: acknowledge, allow, make space for, and more frequently, now, when I go to those places, they don't last anywhere near as long. It's almost like my psyche goes, oh, good, this is getting attended to. The attending to it is often not, where did it come from? What caused this in me? What do I need to heal from my trauma from the past or my ancestors or whatever? A lot of times it just needs to be held. It just needs to be like accepted and supported. Sometimes we can look at those symptoms and ask questions of them. I hear you. I hear you buzzing in my ears. I hear you. Okay, today I feel your absence. How can I support whatever you need and give you more of what comforts you? Today I feel you coming back. How are you informing me about how present I am, how conscious I am in the co-creation of my life? And then create space. And it is work. It is work. But what else do we have to do? And you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm going to sign off now, everyone. Yeah. Crystal, I'm obsessed with gardening. Do you think that's my subconscious way of grounding myself? Yes, ma'am. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's also very sweet, where we notice, like, sometimes it's the funniest things or the most profound things that give us that strength, that grounded support. And being in nature, pretty much got to say that's top of my list. But how we do that, how we do that and how often we do it. People often say to me, I went and stood outside on the ground for 15 minutes and it didn't help. And I say, yeah. And then you went inside and sat on your computer for 6 hours. So I wonder if you were to switch that around, if that might make a difference. I'm saying it to myself too. So can we tip the scale a little more each time? A little more leaning into healthy, balanced recreation as a gesture of gifting the spirit world with our joy, with our healthy, grounded, rhythmic frequency of love and self-actualization. Blessings to you all. Have a beautiful week. I look forward to seeing you again.